The enormous alien spaceship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. It was massive, blocking out the sun over several major cities as it hovered menacingly. Television broadcasts worldwide were interrupted as Admiral Vox of the Galactic Confederation appeared on screens everywhere. "People of Earth," the 7-foot-tall purple-skinned alien announced with dramatic flair, "your planet is now under the control of the Galactic Confederation. Your technology is primitive, your defenses are laughable, and your resources are now ours. Surrender immediately or face annihilation." The transmission was routed through NASA's Communications Center, where Dave Thompson was working the night shift. Dave was 35, slightly overweight, and had been dipping cookies into his coffee when the aliens hijacked Earth's broadcast systems. He stared at the purple alien on his screen, took another bite of his cookie, and pressed the response button. "Hello there," Dave said casually. "Have you tried turning your ships off and on again? That usually fixes most invasion problems." There was a long silence on the other end. Dave continued munching his cookie. Finally, Admiral Vox's face reappeared, confusion evident in his 4 eyes. "Perhaps you misunderstood. We are the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. We demand your immediate surrender." Dave nodded thoughtfully. "Right. Got it. But before we get to that, I'm supposed to ask about your ship's extended warranty. It appears your coverage might be expiring soon." The alien commander's mouth opened and closed several times without sound. Dave glanced at the clock. It was 3:17 a.m., and he wasn't being paid enough for an alien invasion. "Look, I'm not really authorized to surrender the planet," Dave explained. "Let me put you on hold while I find someone who can help you with that." Before Admiral Vox could protest, Dave pressed a button that patched the alien transmission to his personal playlist. The opening notes of Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" began playing to the entire alien fleet. Meanwhile, phones were ringing at the White House, the Pentagon, and government offices worldwide. Military commanders jumped out of bed, diplomats scrambled to dress, and world leaders were rushed to secure locations. The planet was facing its first alien invasion, and humanity's first response had been to rickroll the invaders. In the alien mothership, Admiral Vox was fuming. "What is this primitive noise? And why does the human in the visual recording move in such a strange manner?" His second-in-command, Captain Tark, studied the transmission. "It appears to be some form of psychological warfare, Admiral. The humans are not displaying the fear response we expected." Dave was now furiously typing messages to his supervisor while occasionally checking on the alien transmission. He had accidentally become Earth's first line of defense against an alien invasion while wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt with a faded pizza stain. When the President of the United States finally reached NASA's Communications Center, Dave was explaining to the increasingly agitated aliens that Earth operated on a strict appointment-only basis for invasions. "You'll need to fill out the proper forms," Dave told them, improvising wildly. "Invasions scheduled for Tuesdays require at least 2 weeks' notice. It's policy." The President watched in astonishment as Dave handed off the communication, whispering, "I told them we're closed on Tuesdays for invasions. Also, I may have rickrolled them." Admiral Vox's face appeared again on screens worldwide. His purple complexion now tinged with a deeper blue that suggested alien frustration. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever responded to our arrival with such insolence." As world leaders gathered in emergency sessions and militaries went on high alert, something unexpected was happening. Humans weren't panicking. Instead, they were laughing at clips of Dave's conversation with the aliens, which had already gone viral. The mighty alien fleet hovered uncertainly above Earth. They had conquered 17 planets and faced fierce resistance on each one. But never before had they encountered a species whose first response to invasion was to ask if they tried turning their ships off and on again. The emergency United Nations session convened 6 hours after first contact. Representatives from every nation crowded into the General Assembly Hall, their faces a mix of fear, confusion, and in some cases, poorly hidden amusement. The alien mothership now loomed over New York, casting an ominous shadow over the UN building. "We need someone who understands these aliens," declared the Secretary General, looking haggard after being woken at 4 a.m., a hand raised from the back of the room. "Actually, I believe I might be qualified." All heads turned to see Professor Jack Miller, a disheveled academic with wild gray hair and mismatched socks. He was known in diplomatic circles as brilliant but unpredictable. "Miller, the linguist?" someone whispered. "No," he corrected, walking to the podium uninvited. "I'm a professor of internet culture and meme theory. And based on the aliens' reaction to Dave's approach, I think I know exactly how to handle this." Despite numerous objections, desperation won out. Within an hour, Professor Miller was appointed Earth's official representative to the Galactic Confederation. The aliens reopened communications, expecting to find terrified officials ready to discuss surrender terms. Instead, they got Professor Miller, who greeted Admiral Vox with a solemn face. "We have carefully considered your demands," Miller said gravely. Admiral Vox straightened, pleased that order was finally being restored. "Excellent. Then you are prepared to surrender. First, we must ask, did you receive our invasion permit application forms?" Miller asked, his expression serious. "What forms?" the confused admiral replied. "Oh dear. According to Galactic Law, Section 42, Paragraph 37 bits, which we definitely didn't just make up, all planetary invasions must be preceded by the proper paperwork." Miller sent a transmission. 500 pages of completely nonsensical bureaucratic forms with fields like number of tentacles per crew member and preferred human scream pitch. While the aliens studied the document in bewilderment, something remarkable happened across Earth. Humans, instead of panicking, began joining the trolling effort. Millions of people sent messages to the alien fleet. Some were marriage proposals to Admiral Vox. Others were invitations to birthday parties. Many were just pictures of cats with captions like, "Can I has planet?" On the alien mothership, Junior Communications Officer Krill was monitoring this flood of transmissions. "Admiral, I can't make sense of these human messages," Krill reported, showing a screen filled with memes. "Are they attempting to confuse us with disinformation?" "Their strategy is unprecedented," Vox admitted, staring at an image of a grumpy cat declaring invasion. "No." Meanwhile, Professor Miller had set up a direct video link to the alien command ship. "We should discuss your dietary needs for the official surrender ceremony," he told them, completely straight-faced. "Will you require gluten-free options?" "Gluten," Admiral Vox repeated slowly. "We demand your immediate surrender, not a meal." Of course," Miller nodded sympathetically. "But first, could you explain your position on pineapple as a pizza topping? This could be a deal-breaker for several nations." The aliens' confusion deepened when global news networks began reporting completely contradictory information about Earth. Some claimed humans could regenerate limbs. Others insisted Earth was protected by invisible dragons. One popular broadcast seriously discussed humans' ability to shoot laser beams from their eyes when angered. In the alien fleet, intelligence officers were working overtime. "Our psychoanalysis of human behavior shows no consistent patterns," one reported to Admiral Vox. "They appear to be either insane, employing advanced psychological warfare, or possibly both." Vox slammed his fist on his command console. "Send another ultimatum." Earth received the ultimatum: a serious threat to destroy major cities if surrender wasn't immediate. Professor Miller responded by sending a collection of dad jokes and suggesting they might want to cool down with a nice meme compilation. As the second day of first contact drew to a close, a global contest had emerged for who could confuse the aliens most effectively. The winner so far was an elderly woman from Finland who had sent the aliens a knitting pattern for invasion-proof socks, along with a stern note about proper spaceship parking etiquette. The alien fleet had been positioned above Earth for 3 days now, their massive ships forming a dark pattern against the blue sky. Inside the command vessel, Admiral Vox paced back and forth, his purple skin now tinged with a stress-induced green hue. The situation was unprecedented in the Confederation's 5,000 years of conquest. "Status report," he barked at his officers. Captain Tard hesitated before responding. "Sir, our understanding of the humans remains limited. Our threats continue to be met with these strange memes and something called dad jokes." "And what about our ultimatum?" Vox demanded. "We received 16 million responses, sir. Most were pictures of small furry animals with captions. The rest appear to be invitations to something called a potluck." Vox slammed his four-fingered hand onto the control panel. "This is unacceptable. No species has ever responded to our invasion this way." In a lower deck of the mothership, Junior Officer Krill was supposed to be analyzing human communications. Instead, he had created a secret folder containing thousands of human memes. He was currently giggling at something called Invasion Problems, featuring Admiral Vox's face photoshopped onto a human image with the caption, "Comes to conquer Earth, gets conquered by cat videos." "Krill, attention," barked a superior who had entered the room unnoticed. Krill quickly minimized his screen. "Sir, just studying human psychology, sir." Back on Earth, Professor Miller was hosting a daily alien update live stream that had become the most watched program in human history. "Today's invasion status still pending," Miller announced cheerfully to his audience of 4 billion. "The aliens seem particularly confused by our suggestion that all Earth's oceans are actually one very large alien named Gerald who has been vacationing here for the past billion years." The global contest to troll the aliens had taken on a life of its own. Russia claimed their cosmonauts had secretly boarded the alien ship and redecorated the bridge with flamingo-themed wallpaper. Not to be outdone, Canada sent the aliens a formal apology for Earth's gravitational pull affecting their ships, along with maple syrup as compensation. Teens worldwide had started an Adopt an Alien campaign, sending personal messages to individual alien crew members offering to show them Earth's real culture, which somehow always involved rickrolling. Admiral Vox called an emergency meeting of his command staff. "Our strict military hierarchy is being undermined," he announced gravely. 3 junior officers were caught attempting to create these memes instead of analyzing battle plans. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our power more clearly," suggested his strategic officer. "Disable their satellite network." The plan was executed flawlessly. Within 1 hour, every satellite orbiting Earth had been temporarily deactivated. Vox waited for the panic and capitulation that would surely follow. Instead, NASA sent an official message. "Thanks for the scheduled maintenance. We've been meaning to reset those satellites for years. Could you also help with our space junk problem while you're up there?" Vox stared at the message in disbelief. Meanwhile, Krill had started a secret communication channel with a group of human teenagers who were teaching him about Earth culture. He was becoming increasingly convinced that invading Earth might be a mistake, not because humans were powerful, but because they were weird in ways that defied all alien understanding. "Have you noticed," Krill whispered to a fellow officer, "that the humans never seem scared? What if they know something we don't?" This question began to spread through the lower ranks. What if the humans' strange behavior wasn't insanity but confidence? What if Earth had some secret weapon or powerful allies? The alien crew's once perfect discipline was showing cracks. Some had become obsessed with human culture. Others jumped at shadows, convinced that the humans' bizarre confidence must be based on something real. Admiral Vox drafted his most serious threat yet, promising to destroy major landmarks if Earth didn't surrender within 24 hours. Earth's unified response was a vote held on social media. Citizens worldwide selected which outdated landmarks they'd actually appreciate having removed, then sent the aliens a convenient map with these locations highlighted as suggested targets. As Vox read this response, a junior officer approached nervously. "Sir," the officer reported, "we've detected unauthorized transmissions from our ship to Earth. Someone is sharing our internal communications." "What?" Vox roared. "Who would dare?" On the officer's screen was evidence that someone had been sending human meme makers real images from inside the alien ship. The most popular showed Vox sleeping with what appeared to be a teddy bear. Day 7 of the invasion saw the aliens finally take decisive action. With a demonstration of their superior technology, they disabled Earth's communications satellites one by one, causing them to go dark in sequence around the planet. Admiral Vox watched with satisfaction as the lights winked out on their monitoring screens. "Now they will understand our power," he declared to his command staff. "Without their primitive communication network, they will fall into chaos and finally surrender." The response came 90 minutes later, not from world governments but from thousands of backyard amateur radio operators. The message was broadcast in 50 languages and 100 different voices, but all said essentially the same thing. "Thanks for the help with the satellite maintenance. We've been meaning to upgrade that old network anyway. Our new quantum mesh system goes online tomorrow. No satellites needed. P.S. Did you receive our gift basket?" There was no gift basket. There was no quantum mesh system, but the aliens didn't know that. In the alien mothership, Vox summoned his psychological warfare specialists. "I don't understand," he admitted to the 3 experts who floated into his chamber. "We've conquered 17 civilizations, and all responded with either warfare or immediate surrender. What is wrong with these humans?" The head specialist, Dr. Mix, had spent days studying human broadcasts. "Sir, we believe they may be employing an advanced form of psychological counterattack. Their apparent indifference to our threats undermines our position." Or what?" demanded Vox. "Or they're simply insane, sir. It's difficult to tell." The psychological warfare team requested permission to study human entertainment to better understand their thinking. Vox approved the mission, expecting detailed reports on human military strategy and weaknesses. 3 days later, he found his entire psychological warfare division binge-watching human reality shows. "What is the meaning of this?" Vox demanded, finding Dr. Mix and his team surrounded by screens playing The Bachelor, Survivor, and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. "Research, sir," Dr. Mix responded without looking away from the screen. "Also, we've started a betting pool on who gets the final rose. Would you like to join?" Meanwhile, human hackers had begun infiltrating the alien communication systems. Military orders were mysteriously replaced with pizza delivery requests. Official transmissions to the fleet were interrupted with karaoke versions of "Don't Stop Believin'." One particularly skilled teenager managed to change all the desktop backgrounds on the alien mothership to animated dancing kittens. Vox was at his breaking point. "Fire the warning shot," he ordered. A powerful beam shot from the mothership, carefully aimed to hit an uninhabited area in the Sahara Desert. The energy blast created a glass crater 2 miles wide. "Transmit to all human governments," Vox commanded. "Tell them the next target will be a major city." The response came back almost immediately. It was a tourist advertisement featuring the new alien glass crater as Earth's hottest vacation spot, with photos of humans already setting up souvenir stands at the edge. A handwritten note added, "Perfect timing. We were planning to build a solar farm there anyway. The glass surface will improve efficiency by 25%. In his private quarters, Vox stared at his reflection in the mirror. His once proud uniform felt heavy on his shoulders. The conquest of Earth, which was supposed to be a routine operation, had become a nightmare of confusion and embarrassment. A knock on his door revealed Officer Krill, looking nervous. "Sir, the human known as Professor Miller has requested a face-to-face meeting to discuss terms." "What terms?" Vox asked, suddenly hopeful. "Surrender terms." "He didn't specify, sir, but he mentioned something about a cultural exchange, and he sent this." Krill handed over a small object, a piece of bubble wrap. Vox stared at it in confusion, then accidentally pressed one of the bubbles between his fingers. The small pop made him jump. Then, curiously, he pressed another, and another. 5 minutes later, Captain Tard found his admiral. the feared conqueror of 17 worlds, completely absorbed in popping all the bubbles on the strange human material, a look of odd satisfaction on his face. "Sir," Tard ventured, "about the human request for a meeting." Vox looked up, slightly embarrassed. Tell them I'll consider it." The face-to-face meeting between humans and aliens was set for Friday at noon. Admiral Vox had expected the humans to suggest a neutral location like international waters, or perhaps a military base. Instead, Professor Miller had proposed something called Chuck E. Cheese in suburban New Jersey. "It's a traditional diplomatic venue," Miller had explained with a perfectly straight face. "All our most important treaties are signed there." The alien delegation arrived in full battle armor, weapon systems on standby. Their shuttle landed in the parking lot, crushing several minivans and causing the restaurant's oversized mouse mascot to drop his welcoming sign and run inside screaming. Admiral Vox emerged first, scanning the area for threats. What he saw confused him deeply. Humans were gathered around the building, but instead of looking frightened, they were taking selfies with the alien ship in the background. Many wore costumes, some dressed as aliens from human movies, others as pizza slices, and a few as what appeared to be anthropomorphic mice. Professor Miller greeted them wearing a top hat, swimming goggles, and a flowing cape made from an American flag. "Welcome to Earth's most sacred diplomatic ground," he announced grandly. "Please follow me to the negotiation table." Inside, the Chuck E. Cheese was decorated with streamers and balloons. A banner hung overhead reading, "Welcome, potential overlords," with a smaller sign beneath it saying, "Today's special. Peace treaty with purchase of large pizza." The alien delegation followed Miller cautiously, their advanced sensors detecting no weapons, only the chaotic noise of arcade games, children's laughter, and the faint smell of pizza and feet. "What is this place?" Vox demanded, watching in horror as a small human child with ice cream on his face pressed sticky hands against his pristine armor. "This is where we determine if alien species are worthy of diplomatic relations," Miller explained, directing them toward a booth. First test, skee ball competition. Before Vox could object, he found himself being handed a small brown sphere and directed toward a ramp with numbered holes. His military training kicked in, and he analyzed the physics involved. With perfect precision, he rolled the ball up the ramp and into the 100-point hole. "Beginner's luck," said Miller, casually sinking his own shot while eating a slice of pizza with his other hand. By the time they reached the actual negotiation table, Vox was carrying a stuffed pink unicorn he'd won at the claw machine and had consumed 3 slices of pepperoni pizza, which his ship's medical officer had reluctantly cleared as not immediately toxic. The Earth delegation was a strange mix of diplomats in formal attire, teenagers with laptops, and a man who kept introducing himself as "just here for the buffet." Cameras broadcasted everything live on the new show, "So You Think You Can Invade," which had become the most watched program in human history. "Let's discuss terms," said Miller, finally getting to business. "We've prepared a peace offering." Vox leaned forward expectantly. Perhaps the humans were finally taking this seriously. Miller unveiled a large box filled with bubble wrap, hundreds of sheets of it. In the alien delegation, Officer Krill gasped audibly and had to be restrained by 2 colleagues. Additionally, Miller continued, "We offer cultural exchange. Your Officer Krill has shown great interest in our memes. We propose he stay as our first alien resident and cultural ambassador." "That's outrageous," Vox began, but turned to see Krill already raising his hand in agreement. "I volunteer," Krill said, "for research purposes." The negotiations deteriorated further when Miller presented Vox with a trophy, a golden cup with a small human figure on top and the words "Participation Award. Most intimidating unsuccessful invasion." "This is an insult," Vox shouted, though he still accepted the trophy. "Oh no," Miller replied, looking genuinely concerned. "It's a great honor. We give these to all our favorite alien invaders. You're in the top 3. How many alien invasions have you repelled? Vox asked suspiciously. Miller just smiled and offered more pizza. Outside the restaurant, humans continued their bizarre celebration. Someone had set up a booth selling t-shirts reading, "My planet got invaded, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt." As Vox stormed back to his shuttle, trophy still clutched in his lower right hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that somehow, against all logic, these strange humans were winning. The report of the failed negotiations reached the Galactic Confederation Supreme Command within hours. The highest council, composed of the 12 most powerful beings in the known universe, watched the recordings of Admiral Vox accepting a participation trophy with growing horror. "This is unprecedented," declared Supreme Commander Zol, an ancient being who had overseen 1,000 conquests. "No species has ever treated our invasion with such disrespect." The decision was unanimous. Earth would face the ultimate weapon, the planet destroyer cannon that had ended civilizations throughout the galaxy. The massive weapon was dispatched immediately, arriving in Earth's orbit 3 days later. It was a terrifying sight. A space station the size of the moon, with a cannon that could crack a planet's crust with a single shot. Admiral Vox felt vindicated as it took position alongside his fleet. "Now the humans will understand the gravity of their situation," he said, watching the weapon power up its initial systems. "Transmit the final ultimatum." Across Earth, all screens displayed the message: "You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally, or your planet will be destroyed. This is your final warning." Professor Miller and the United Nations Emergency Committee viewed the message in silence. For once, Miller's usual smirk was gone. The weapon was real, and scans confirmed its power matched the aliens' claims. "Well," Miller finally said, "if we have only 24 hours left, there's really only one appropriate response." 6 hours later, Admiral Vox received Earth's reply. He expected panic, fear, perhaps finally a surrender. Instead, he got an invitation. A colorful digital card with animated fireworks declared, "Earth's ND of HFY World Party. All aliens welcome. Bring your own beverage." 24 hours of music, dancing, and saying goodbye to the third rock from the sun. "Is this a joke?" Vox asked his communications officer. "No, sir," the officer replied, looking uncomfortable. "They appear to be genuinely organizing celebrations. They've sent personal invitations to every member of our crew." Indeed, across Earth, humans had begun what appeared to be apocalypse festivals. Major cities set up stages in their central parks. Bands played as people danced in the streets, signs reading "Thanks for the memories, Earth," and "Party like there's no tomorrow, because there isn't," appeared everywhere. Most disturbing of all, many included explicit invitations to the alien troops. "Come party with us before you blow us up." Read messages sent directly to alien soldiers. "Free food, music, and souvenirs to remember us by." The alien troops had been in space for years. Many were young recruits who had joined for adventure, but found only the monotony of space travel and the rigid hierarchy of military life. The idea of one last party before completing their mission was tempting. "Sir," reported Captain Targ with alarm, "shuttles are being prepared without authorization." "What?" Vox rushed to the hangar bay to find dozens of his crew in civilian clothes, boarding shuttles. "Where do you think you're going?" he demanded of a young technician. "Just sightseeing, sir," the technician replied nervously. "Last chance to see Earth before, you know." He mimed an explosion with his hands. Despite threats of court-martial, hundreds of alien troops deserted that night, shuttles heading down to join the celebrations on Earth. Videos soon reached the mothership showing alien soldiers dancing awkwardly alongside humans, trying Earth food, and receiving "I visited Earth" before it exploded t-shirts. Supreme Commander Zol contacted Admiral Vox directly. "The planet destroyer is ready," Zol informed him coldly. "Give the final order." Vox hesitated, looking at his depleted crew. Half his invasion force was now on Earth, eating hot dogs and learning to do something called the Macarena. Send one final demand, Vox insisted. One last chance for them to show proper fear. Earth's unified response came minutes later. It wasn't a message or a plea. It was just a single image, a gif of a sloth giving the slow thumbs up. As the planet destroyer began its final charging sequence, Vox stared at the inexplicable image, wondering how, after conquering 17 worlds, he had somehow been defeated by a planet of beings who responded to imminent destruction with party invitations and pictures of slow-moving mammals. The planet destroyer's main cannon glowed with ominous blue energy as it reached full power. On the command deck, Admiral Vox stood with his remaining loyal officers, watching the targeting systems lock onto Earth's core. His four-fingered hand hovered over the activation panel. "Commence final countdown," he ordered, his voice hollow. 10, 9, 8. The computer began. Across Earth, the parties continued. Humans danced under the glow of the alien weapon, their faces illuminated by its energy. Some looked up with fear finally showing in their eyes, but most continued celebrating as if determined to end on their own terms. 7, 6, 5. In the midst of a beach party in Rio, Officer Krill slipped away from the crowd. He pulled out a small device and transmitted a coded signal to several other alien defectors scattered across the globe. 4, 3. "Sir, we're detecting an anomaly in the weapon systems," reported an alarmed technician on the destroyer. "What anomaly?" demanded Vox. 2, 1. The planet destroyer's cannon surged with power, the blue glow intensifying to blinding white, and then faded with a sad whining sound like a deflating balloon. The mighty weapon of planetary destruction powered down completely. "What happened?" Vox roared. Alarms blared across the destroyer as systems failed one after another. On the mothership, communications officers received a transmission from Earth, not from the governments or Professor Miller, but from Officer Krill. "Sorry, Admiral." Krill's message began. "Some of us decided we like Earth. Did you know they have over 700 varieties of what they call ice cream? Anyway, we may have slightly sabotaged the planet destroyer. Nothing personal." The Supreme Command was livid. Within hours, Admiral Vox received new orders. He was being recalled immediately. His invasion was officially classified as a catastrophic failure. But the humans, they used psychological warfare. They confused us with memes and parties. Vox protested during his final transmission with Supreme Commander Zoll. "The Confederation has received over 6 billion messages from humans in the past hour," Zoll replied coldly. "They are offering invasion reviews and customer feedback on our conquest attempt." Indeed, humans worldwide had organized a massive feedback campaign. "Dear alien overlords," began most messages, "regarding your recent invasion attempt, we'd rated 2/5 stars. Points for the impressive ships, but deductions for poor communication and failure to actually conquer anything. Better luck next time." Some included helpful tips for future invasions. Others attached surveys asking aliens to rate their Earth experience on a scale from highly dissatisfied to would invade again. The final humiliation came when the Confederation leadership reviewed a compiled highlight reel of the invasion attempt, from Dave's initial rickroll to Vox accepting a participation trophy at Chuck E. Cheese. The footage had been edited with cartoon sound effects and sad trombone music. After hours of deliberation, the Supreme Command reached an unprecedented conclusion. Earth would be officially designated a quarantined curiosity and a strict no-invasion zone. The official reason given was that Earth might contaminate other worlds with its chaotic and incomprehensible culture. As the alien fleet prepared to depart, Professor Miller contacted Admiral Vox one last time. "No hard feelings?" Miller asked, now dressed in normal clothes for the first time since the invasion began. Vox merely grunted. "We're establishing an interstellar cultural exchange program," Miller continued cheerfully. "Krill has agreed to be our first alien resident. We're calling it Trolls Without Borders. Would you like to join? Vox ended the transmission without answering. As his ship broke orbit, he found himself unable to delete the collection of cat videos he had secretly downloaded. Something about the small furry creatures brought him comfort. 6 months later, former Admiral Vox sat in an alien therapy office, trying to explain his new obsession with Earth culture to his concerned therapist. "I just don't understand," Vox said, scrolling through memes on his personal device. "How did they defeat us without firing a single shot?" His therapist nodded sympathetically and made a note. Patient still unable to comprehend concept of trolling. Meanwhile, on Earth, the brief alien invasion had become little more than a cultural footnote, though Pretend to Surrender Day had become a popular new holiday, celebrated by sending confusing messages to loved ones and eating pizza at Chuck E. Cheese while wearing ridiculous hats. And somewhere in orbit, a single alien probe remained, dutifully collecting and transmitting cat videos back to a growing fan base throughout the Galactic Confederation.